What's up, Bombshells? Welcome to Bombshell 1111 Podcast, Therapy for Women of Color. My name is Kia, and I'm your host. Generally, podcasts request donations, but I want you to show love by simply subscribing to my social media platforms by visiting my website at www.bombshell1111podcast.com. I want to see thousands of subscribers on this platform. Leave your comments and I'll show love by shouting you out on my social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook. I want to thank you for your continued support as always. And with that being said, let's jump into this new episode.
Hi, my name is Allison Jayne. I'm an EFT practitioner, and I'm here to drop some bombs on Bombshell 111.
Welcome back, Bombshells. I'm Kia, and I'm your host. Tonight, you guys will be discussing EFT tapping with our special guest, Allison. So without further ado, Bombshells, let's go ahead and get right into it. Welcome, Allison. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of the podcast. I can't wait to hear what you're about to share with us about this EFT tapping.
Well, I'm super passionate about it. Love teaching people about it. So I'm excited.
Yeah. And so, I do have a description down below in the description box about who you are, what you do, where you're from, and all that good stuff. But I like to start the podcast off with allowing the guests to just give a short description of who you are, what you do, where you're from. So go ahead, Allison.
Sure. So I'm a traditional psychotherapist turned EFT practitioner. I live in Chicago, and several years ago, I got trained in EFT tapping. And once I discovered how amazing and powerful it is, I just dropped my regular therapy practice and I went all in on EFT because it's amazing.
Whoa. Okay. And so you've been practicing again for how long?
I got trained originally in 2014. So I'm kind of old school at this because it really didn't become very popular until more recently. But yeah, I've been doing it for a while.
And so, Allison, for the listening audience who may not even have an idea of what we're talking about in reference to EFT tapping, what is EFT tapping?
So what it is it's a combination of tapping on one's own acupressure points and talking about emotionally charged materials. And what it does is it's like almost like pouring water on the fire of an emotion. It eliminates the emotional feeling that you might have about something that's bothering you. And it appears from the research and from what we know at this point that it actually creates a new neural pathway. So a really simplistic example is if you have a fear of spiders and you tap on your own acupressure points while you kind of go through the script that is a part of EFT tapping, you will no longer be scared of spiders.
So what can you expect to feel during a EFT session? And explain to us, how does it work?
So basically what we found out is that when we stimulate these particular acupressure points, and people always ask me, is it just because I'm thinking about it differently? And the research is pretty clear. No, it is actually stimulating these points and not just other points on your body that actually makes the difference. And what we believe is happening is when you are tapping on these acupressure points, you're sending a calming signal to the fight or flight part of your brain, and you're essentially shutting it off. So when you think about something that bothers you, a phobia, or maybe something bad that happened, a car accident or something, you notice people's bodies, they go into fight or flight, right? When they're talking about it, their eyes bug out, they tense up, their palms start sweating. Your body doesn't know the difference between a memory of a traumatic event and being in a traumatic event. So when you do the calming tapping, it puts your brain very quickly into an alpha brainwave state, which is sort of the relaxed state that you're in, most of us before bed, but for yogis, maybe during Shavasana, for meditators out there, when you meditate, that's an alpha brainwave state, that relaxed, somewhat floaty feeling. And we've discovered that simply by tapping on these particular 9 acupressure points over and over, it will put you in that state. And your body basically can't stay in fight or flight and alpha brainwave at the same time. So at some point along the tapping, something will have to kind of give, and your body will have to just create a new neural pathway. And then it'll connect the memory and the thing to your frontal lobe, which is the part of your brain that's responsible for logic and judgment. And it will no longer create all those physiological sensations. You'll remember it, but most of my clients say to me, I remember it, but it feels like someone else's story now.
And so EFT tapping can help with tons and tons and tons and tons of issues, such as traumas. I know some I've read, as well as stopping smoking. What other issues can EFT help with?
Well, the main issue that I work with women on actually is to help them with their love life, because the way it works is it can really help eliminate subconscious beliefs. So you know how there's so many people out there teaching self-help, and they really can help you. You can go to a weekend workshop and learn all this about yourself and figure out exactly what you're doing wrong. And you know, like in the dating example, you know why you keep choosing these certain men over and over, and you figure out, oh yeah, it's related to this thing in my childhood, and now I know what I'm doing, but you can't change it, right? Or you learn, okay, you know that when you're upset, you crave carbs, and that's not good for you, and you shouldn't do that, but you can't change it. So EFT tapping to me is such a powerful tool, because it actually gives you that almost that magic wand where you can suddenly change it. So you might go and learn all the reasons why you're doing these things, why you're self-sabotaging behind the scenes. But if you can't shift and change the behavior, what good does that knowledge do you? It actually can just frustrate people more, because they feel like, well, I learned all this and I'm still not doing it. Well, when you tap on those things, those maybe limiting beliefs, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of success or love, or I'm afraid that if I lose weight and become thin, that I'll get too much attention and I won't be able to handle it. Those are all subconscious beliefs that create big emotions in us when we stop to think about them. And so when you apply the tapping to the emotion behind those beliefs, the belief goes away, and it almost seems like silly afterwards. And it's just like, oh wow, like that was not really ever my truth anyway.
And what and who benefits from EFT tapping?
Well, the creator of EFT tapping, a guy named Gary Craig, is kind of famous for known to say, try it on everything. So it really is pretty remarkable. I say to people, think about it a little bit like brushing your teeth and going to the dentist, right? So if you create a regular practice of EFT tapping once a day or a couple of times a week, it's like brushing your teeth. You're upkeeping with regulating your nervous system, really, because you're putting yourself in that real relaxed state. You're also shutting off your cortisol production. And so you're doing your body a world of good every time you tap. And then if there's like a really big thing that you're struggling with, maybe a pattern of self-sabotage that you can't seem to shift, like the women I work with, you know, they are single and dating again at midlife, and they just feel so depressed about it, and they feel like they can't find any good guys out there, and they have so much negative thinking about it. So that's why they maybe come to me, because some of that might be connected to some deep childhood stuff. Like if your dad was really emotionally unavailable, your brain learned that love is emotional unavailability. So you are actually attracted to emotionally unavailable guys because your brain is telling you that's love. That's love. We recognize that. That's love. So you have to kind of go back and do the deep work on some of these childhood roots, wounds, things like that. Tap on those. That's hard to do on your own. But when you're just sort of dealing with everyday stress, so that's going to the dentist, right? Working with a practitioner like me. But when you're just dealing with sort of your everyday stress and you just don't want to be so uptight anymore, if you make a regular practice of tapping, and I always like to say to people, don't try to add it in because that can feel more stressful. just do it in times that you're already like going over, perseverating in your mind on things that are bothering you. So when you're in the shower, if you tap a little bit when you're in the shower, a lot of us are in the shower thinking about our problems, our day. Oh my God, I have to do this, that, the other, right? So you're in there already, just start doing some tapping. When you're stuck in the car, that's another time we're chewing over our problems in our mind, just start tapping. You will start to clear things doing these regular times that will actually make you just start feeling better overall. The other big one, especially for women, I think, when you're talking to your friend, women, what do? We get on the phone with each other and we vent, right? So you're venting, go ahead and start tapping. I mean, if you're not FaceTiming, they can't know that you're doing that anyway. And tapping only works when you're in the emotion of the feeling you're trying to clear. That's very important. And so when you're talking to a friend, you're naturally kind of emotional already, right? And so that's a great time to tap. If you're just kind of in your head about something and you're not really feeling the feeling, you can tap all day long and it's not going to shift much. So that's a really important thing. And I also like to tell people it can be very helpful to drop into your body and try to feel where you feel the feeling. So if you want to tap because you're nervous about a talk you need to give at work, a presentation you need to give at work, drop in your body. Where do you feel it? Most people feel butterflies in their stomach, right? Yeah. So then you start tapping and you can use the main phrase that we use in tapping is combining the problem that you're trying to clear initially with some kind of statement of understanding, because our brains don't like it when we just try to like force change. So you got to kind of tell your brain it's going to be okay. So you might say, even though I'm nervous about this presentation I have to give, and I feel it in my stomach, I deeply and completely accept myself. That's the real common phrase most people use with it. And you say that while tapping on the side of your hand 3 times. Then you go to the other points, the other 8 points, and all this can be found on my website for people who need a visual. And you go through the other 8 points and you just say this nervous feeling in my stomach about the presentation, this nervous feeling in my stomach about the presentation. And by the time you finish a round, most people, let's say you were nervous at an 8, most people are going to have dropped at least 2 numbers to more like a 6. Some people will drop all the way down to like 3 just that quickly.
And you kind of went into my next question, because my next question was, how long does it take to see results from EFT tapping?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question because EFT's kind of become really known for these, what they call one minute wonders. And yeah, it can be pretty remarkable. You can tap on something 1 or 2 rounds and it can clear. I have cleared people's phobias in 10 minutes. I mean, some of it is really dramatic how fast it is. Just yesterday, my boyfriend and I started our day tapping on, I'm going to have a productive day, and our resistance to being productive. And he was like, wow, I feel great today. And all day that kind of lasted, because once you clear your resistance to things you don't want to do, then it feels easy to do them.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, exactly. And so now also though, if something is really deeply entrenched or a really big pattern and has lots of sort of neural network connections to it, that is going to take some time. So I've worked with people who've experienced like long-term childhood trauma. That takes multiple sessions over the course of months to sometimes years to unwind. But what I will tell you is that within just a few sessions, people generally start to feel way better. And I've had clients all the time say, wow, I worked on that for 7 years in therapy, and now in 4 sessions, I feel like it's barely even a thing anymore. And so the speed of it is really why I changed to become solely an EFT practitioner, because I realized I can help people so much better and so much faster than I ever could with more traditional talk therapy techniques.
And speaking of you becoming an EFT practitioner, let's talk about the services that you provide. How do you provide those services? Are they in person? Are they virtually held online? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I actually see all my clients on Zoom, and that was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So I was sort of already well set when all of that happened. But yeah, it's being my clients online. And a year ago, I wrote and published a book called Find Love Again, How to Date Like a Goddess. Because I was very passionate. I went through a divorce myself 8 years ago, and I became really passionate about helping women, single women later in life in their 40s and 50s, which was a lot of my friends, several of my clients, and myself. And I realized that I had all this knowledge as a divorcee, single and dating, and dealing with the crazy world of online dating, which is a lot.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I realized I got negative, I got down, all the things that everybody out there is going through, I experienced, but I had this amazing tool of EFT tapping. So I was able to tap my way through a lot of the difficult pieces of becoming single again all of a sudden when I didn't expect it. And what I realized was I can really help other women going through this. So I wrote a book, and in each chapter, at the end of the chapter, there's a tapping script. And so I sort of teach something, a mental shift, let's call it, a different way to look at dating. So one of the chapters, I say how Cinderella fucked me up.
I saw that.
Right? And it's all about how I went into the dating world thinking I needed to be chosen. I went out there and I said, I hope this guy likes me. It was sort of the mentality I went on to dates with, rather than, well, I hope he likes me, but also I have to decide if I like him too.
Right.
Right? Right. Exactly. So once I realized whoa, I need to flip the script on this, it was still hard because I was in the habit for my whole life of, playing the stepsister role, right?
Yeah.
So I did the tapping on it, and I was able to clear all my blocks around this idea that actually, yes, I am the prize and I am the chooser, and I can be discerning, and I don't have to be afraid that if I let this guy go, that there's not another good one coming along. I think a lot of women stay in bad relationships because they're afraid that nothing better will come along, and so they settle. So if you have that fear and you tap on it and you clear the fear, suddenly you're out there dating like a goddess. You are fearless, and you are calling in men to you. And I kind of go deep in the book about some of the neurobiology. There's a part of our brain responsible for seeing and identifying patterns that literally won't see certain men until you shift these emotions and you shift your attraction and your attractor field. And then you'll start to see guys. So my big tagline that I always do with the women I work with, I do have an 8-week online course that goes deep into manifesting the guy of your dreams. And we use weekly EFT tapping to, clear all the blocks too, all the manifesting techniques that we do in the course. And I say, just don't worry about changing your profile. Don't worry about all the external things. Focus on cleaning up your subconscious blocks and your negative, limited thinking from the inside, and your guy will just show up on the outside. And it happened that way for me. It's happened that way for some of my clients so far. So it's really exciting that I've moved into this specific realm, because I feel like these are my people. And I love helping single women to feel more positive about dating and to find their guy.
All I can say is that from the research that I've done on EFT tapping is exactly the results that you just spoke about. And a lot of women per se do use EFT tapping to do just so. And so I've heard a lot of great benefits from it. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's really amazing. I just think overall, I'm so much more laid back. I'm so much more go with the flow and chill, just because I started doing this. My kids will even say, I stopped yelling and I stopped getting so reactive, and I stopped, the more I did it, the better I felt.
Oh, I love it. So how can a listening audience get connected to you for services or more information, Allison?
Well, they can go to my website at learntodatelikeagoddess.com, or they can follow me at Inspired Life Tapping on Instagram, on TikTok, and DM me, ask any questions. And I do have an offer actually for all your listeners that if you go to my website, learntodatelikeagoddess.com, you can download a free copy of the book and you can check it out, try the tapping scripts, see if you can start to make some change on your own. And if you want to go deeper and you really want to transform yourself within 8 weeks, then reach out to me and let's talk.
Thank you so much for that. And Allison, is there anything you feel that I missed tonight that you'd like to share with the listening audience before we get out of here?
I think the one thing I didn't necessarily emphasize is it really is a self-help tool. And you can do a lot on your own. So just go on YouTube. I have instructional videos, but there's a million videos out there. Say, tapping for blank, whatever it is that's bothering you, you will find a video on it. You tap along and you'll start to experience relief. Now we say for results to be terrific, you need to be specific. So that's where when you work with a practitioner, you get really sort of more narrowed in on what it is bothering you, you're going to get better results. But if you do this general tapping on some of these general videos, you will start to feel better. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you so much for that. And so, you guys, I want to thank Allison so much for coming on and being a part of the podcast. Allison, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you guys for listening to us. And that brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks to Allison for joining us. We hope that you guys were able to hear something beneficial to you. And with that being said, thanks for listening. And always remember, you are a bomb within your own shell. Peace, love, and light, you guys. Until next time, good night. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted, rate, review, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're leaving with some valuable information that can help you on your personal journey. Also, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Bombshell1111 or at Bombshell1111 TV. You can also check out our mental health page, Your Health is Your Wealth, on Facebook, which is a page created to inform and support individuals with mental health and other health conditions. And with that being said, always remember, you guys, you are a bomb within your own shell. And until next time, peace, love, and light.